Okay, I'm so stupid. I'm having a conversation. I talked for like 3 minutes, and I'm so stupid. So yeah, the first thing I said, this channel, Strongman Finance, he only has 4,300 subs, and he had Meet Kevin on live today. Today? Yeah, today.
How would I feel about that if I have children in the house? How am I going to secure it? Am I going to get trained?
That's crazy, right? Yeah, I forgot. I'm supposed to have somebody. I bought Baba 2 weeks ago in a couple accounts. Is that up? I think I got it at 119. Well, I'm not sure what I got it at. I can't remember anymore. I got it like 2 weeks ago. So I was up like 10% right away. See, I think I got it around here, like 120, 119. And then I was up a lot and it came down. I'm supposed to have a guest on. I'm feeling a lot better. I'm not 100%, but the few days after that last week's stream, some of those days were really miserable. What do you think of PBF? PBF Logistics? Yeah, Kate was good. Everybody liked Kate, right? I don't even want to look at my portfolio because of Facebook. I'm probably. I wish I waited. I wish I waited to invest, but I guess, who knows? Who would have known that it would have crashed? Pretty much all oil and gas stocks are like killing it. I just did a video today on Suncor, and their stats look really good. Look at that, 14 PE ratio. This is all the oil and gas integrated companies. There's 19. Here's Suncor. And look at their ratios. Their PE is a lot better than average. Look at their price to free cash flow, 7.7. The average is 17. I didn't buy Zim. Oh, if you're a patron on my Patreon page, every day I post an Excel file. So go to the Patreon page. Every day I submit an Excel file. Today I submitted this. Like all the these are all the oil and gas integrated companies. And I'm gonna start. And I also posted this, and I'm gonna and I show all my Patreons like all the videos I've done for the month, and what I said, and the link to the video, so it's easy to find in case you're looking for it. But the Suncor, I did Suncor. I did Suncor 3 months ago. A video on them. And I almost hit exactly my price point was almost exactly where we look, November 12th. So almost exactly 3 months ago. And look, it was 33. I said 38, right? And look where it's trading at, 38. So you see, it was November 10th. I posted on 12th. The actual price was 33. My calculator is 38. And it's almost exactly there. Where's this guy? Somebody's supposed to join and seven. Yeah. Where's the sun? So I just did the Suncor today. I'm at 46. So if you wanna make money, get Suncor, su.to. It's SU on the New York Stock Exchange. So did you guys see a firm? They post. I think it was it Thursday or Friday? They're supposed to post earnings, and you post earnings after the bell closes. But somebody at the company sent a tweet with what their earnings results were, like the high level, and then people bought the stock. It was up like 10%, but then after hours, when they released their whole earnings, it went down like 20. Somebody got fired. That's like, how could you release earnings before that's such a blunder. Like, Nick, if you're here, Nick, just go to this link. I don't know why you're not coming up in the somebody's supposed to join, but he's having a hard time finding. Okay. Somebody's supposed to join, but he's having a hard time. Hey, can you load that? Finding.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. What happened? Somebody's supposed to join, but he's having a hard time. Hey, can you load that? Yeah.
Hey, can you hear me?
You need to close out of one of the windows because I'm getting. Okay, that's good. You want to join, Agav? You can. Nick, I don't know if you see my live streams. I do raffles now to make it more fun. Wait, that doesn't look like Kate. Yeah, you don't look like Kate. Let me know if you're here so I could put you. Nick, are you here?
I'm here, yeah. Can you hear me?
So an MLP is a master limited partnership, like energy transfer. It's only for like oil and gas and real estate companies. Is it? Yeah, and real estate companies. It's kind of like a REIT, like a similar type structure where the company doesn't pay taxes.
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty specific type of entity. Personally, not one that I've encountered much in, the professional world. But yeah, much more focused toward that utility energy space. But yeah, I think that's a great way to describe it.
But
It's
even
basically. Mhm.
even REITs, like REITs, dividends get paid taxed as ordinary income, so it's always at the higher tax rate.
Yeah, I mean, the benefit there, though, is they'll generally have higher dividends because they personally don't get taxed on their distributions as long as they distribute 90% of their income. So, yeah, I mean, it comes out, right? Like, so you'll receive more, get taxed more, but it just depends on your own tax situation. If you have a high tax rate, it's probably not advantageous, but it depends.
Right, but I still think the thing I sent you about. Nobody sent that to me, but it seems like that would make sense, because when you own a REIT, you don't own stock. You own part of a company, or maybe you're an owner of a company, right? It's no, maybe it's only for MLPs. I gotta look that up, and
Yeah.
maybe probably BDCs also, but I thought. It's just such a nuanced type of question. Like it's not like something that you'd really hear much about.
No, definitely. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, REITs, I'm
But
not
have
supposed.
you ever done taxes and uh, with somebody who has REITs securities? Have you ever done their personal taxes or yours with a REIT?
Yeah, for sure. REITs, I would say. Yeah, MLPs or other types of entities, not particularly. I've held REITs. I've done taxes for those who have held REITs. Yeah, and those are just taxed at ordinary income rates.
It's just ordinary. So it must be for MLPs because the way it works for MLP is it stands for Master Limited Partnership. So if you own stock in a MLP, you're a limited partner. Kind of like if we went into a business together, we would both be partners, and we would get taxed. Like if we say we both put $50,000 in each to buy supplies and equipment, right? And then we made $60,000 each. Then we would just report 10,000 because 60,000 minus taxes. So everything is would be taxed as ordinary income if we had a business together, right? So the same thing with an MLP is like you own part of the business. And I don't know. Well, let me know if you hear.
Yeah, I'd say that's. I mean, again.
Have you? What's that?
What were you saying?
Have you seen this before? The raffle. Did you ever see me do this on a live stream? A raffle?
I haven't. No, actually.
Okay. So you haven't. I do it twice. It's Yeah, Matthew. I have your first one. I email a $20 Amazon gift card. I figured maybe it'd be kind of motivate people to come more.
No, for sure.
Which stock ends with LP? MLPX is an MLP, Energy Transfer. There's a bunch. It's mostly oil and gas companies. Everybody, I want to get this video to 100,000 views. Just watch it over and over and over. I really think this is where the connecting the financial statements part 4. I really think it's Nick, check out this video. I think it would be really helpful if people understood what I say in the video. Like it's kind of understanding how they connect together, the income statement, balance sheet, and statement of cash flows. And I show them I have a company I made up, and I'm do transactions, and I show how each transaction affects each financial statement. And I close out the financials at the end of each year. I also IPO'd the company and showed them how that affects. But nobody watches it because it's not like, I don't know. So I want to get people to watch it so it gets pushed out there into the YouTube world.
I was gonna say I'm not the foremost expert in YouTube algorithm. I know there's a lot to it. No, but for sure. I mean, yeah, this is something I'd be more than happy to share around to those in the accounting world that I'm working with.
If you swap out Nick for Kate, I'll watch it 2,000 times.
Who's Kate? Is Kate much more entertaining?
She's prettier.
That's fair. I can't say, you know, someone who's named Kate, I probably can't compete in the looks category there.
No, I mean, she was average. Like she was personable, but she wasn't like super outgoing. But people liked her.
Well, whoever that was, I hope one day maybe you'll look upon me as favorably as you did Kate. But
I do, but
very much appreciated, Scott.
Maybe I think they're kind of joking.
Oh no, all good.
Okay, so let's do the randomizer. That didn't count. That what it was on already. So 2, agave. Okay. I'm new. What does Nick do for a living? He's a CPA. He's a sub, and I sent a kind of like a group. I sent kind of like a message in the group saying if anybody wants to be part of the live stream, let me know. And he's the only one who responded. So he already came on and did a live stream with me. What does dude does?
Oh, is that referring to what that might have been what I do? I mean, I've done audit, taxes, currently doing advisory consulting. Also, I was going to mention to you, Scott, as well. I've been working on developing a CPA exam review course. And
oh yeah, I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, so like the videos here, I could definitely promote through the course. I mean, this seems like it would be very helpful to the users of the course, learning how, you know, obviously the relationships between all the financial statements work. So that, I mean, I'm sure that would help traffic as well. If that works with you, I'd be more than happy to share those around.
Yeah, please. I really think it's very clear, and it shows the connections. Like what happened. Like it seems basic, but like if you buy inventory, how does that affect? So you obviously have to book the revenue, or you know. But yeah, take a look.
Oh no, I will definitely take a look. I got to say though, one of the reason what brought me to your videos in the first place was the 2021 video on Carnival. Actually, I'll never forget. It was pretty clear cut, and the dissection and analysis of the financial statements was wonderful.
Oh, thanks, Carnival.
Yeah, that was actually one of my bigger. So I mean, of the March 2020 convictions I had, that was the one that didn't pan out. But hey, I guess no one foresaw this situation going on as long as it did. It's still,
nobody can predict the future.
Exactly. I kind of dumped that a while ago, but like that's the thing. I mean, you never know where the market's going to go. I mean, your analysis of it was great, and if the market worked perfectly in theory, then yeah, sure, it would have done well. But obviously, there's more factors than any even firm can account for. A whole firm can account for.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way to because there's so many external factors. Like it's impossible to predict the future. But if you do your homework enough, and you invest in the right things, then you should make money over time.
You're exactly right. Over time, exactly. If you do your due diligence exactly as you're doing, yes, you can't expect it to happen overnight. You just have to and you do it every year, right? You can't like just do your homework once and expect the company will stay the same. If you continue to do it,
change.
it's exactly perfect.
Matthew Plummer won. I think he won last week too. Matthew emailed me to remind me to send you the Amazon gift card. Yeah, I mean, just because I understand the market, I still lost 30% on Facebook last week, like everyone else. So, but I know Facebook is a great company. When you have half the world visiting your sites, like Facebook and Instagram, WhatsApp, it's a pretty powerful asset to have. So many people, I just can't see it not coming back up.
No, for sure. Yeah, and it is one of those solid companies. I expect it will as well, but only time will tell. And actually, that's an interesting point. So I believe Agav Bond, is that how you say his name, Agav?
Yeah.
Yeah. So buy when the whole market is tanking. It's super interesting because I follow a lot of people who are advocates of dollar cost averaging, and I got to say, I think dollar cost averaging is great. But when the whole market tanks and all of the companies that you've done great due diligence in are going down as well. So, for example, March of 2020, when everything's going down, all the solid Microsoft, Costco, all these JP Morgan, these solid companies, what's going to happen? Either obviously they're all going to go up, or if all of the greatest, most financially sound companies in the US go down, we probably have bigger problems going on. So your finances are probably the least of your concern at that point. So, I mean, not financial advice, but just thinking about that, when the whole market tanks, that's a great time to buy just the solid companies because everything's gone down. If everything's going down 10%, then sure, buy your Disneys, buy your Amazons, your Apples, your solid companies.
It's I mean, if you have money when it tanks, yeah. If you're fortunate enough, the market tanks when you run into money. But generally, most people don't have just waiting for a market crash. But it's not a bad idea if like for example, Facebook tanked, and if you're really bullish on Facebook, you can pull money out of like maybe something that's been doing well or not down so much and put into Facebook. So that's an option too. But I just buy whenever I have cash. I don't really wait for I'd say yeah, I'm a little concerned about Facebook. I'm not like, it doesn't matter how confident you are about something, whether it be investing or anything in life. There's always a chance something could go wrong. And yeah, I mean, I guess Facebook could go bankrupt. It's pretty unlikely, I think. Like, what's the odds of like a company like Lehman or Bear Stearns ever going back? Wait, but like, it happens. Yeah.
No, it's definitely interesting, and they're putting themselves, mainly Zuckerberg, he's putting himself in an interesting situation. It does instill confidence when the founder of the company is still leading it, and I gotta say, I think that is pretty solid because it's the individual who started the whole process, the whole company. But I think it's done a decent job of diversifying itself between Instagram, WhatsApp, and the meta. As much as the metaverse is, this abstract construct in everyone's minds right now. Personally, like I have an Oculus. I've had some wonderful experiences with it. I think VR is phenomenal. I personally, I love to video game. I will never go back to a console first person shooter game. Just being able to, like just, with your hands, just move around or climbing or playing lightsaber Star Wars games. It's phenomenal. And that's going to take, as the technology advances, people are going to very much enjoy playing in VR. Now, for example, I could see Facebook, the site crumbling, facebook.com crumbling in, let's say, 20 years and it being non-existent anymore. That wouldn't happen overnight. Obviously, it would, slowly transition. Like maybe Instagram would be bolstered up, and another site would captivate that older audience that currently uses Facebook. So I think they're doing a great job diversifying, but it is something where, it is rocky since their namesake is taking a little bit of hit.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. Older people use Facebook, and I get what people are saying, but they do have Instagram too, which has a young population. And you know how much money Facebook makes in ads? Like, it probably makes, I mean, hardly, besides maybe Google, probably no other company online makes as much money in ad revenue or pay-per-click, whatever you call it, SEO. They make so much money. It's just, that's where people go. They go to usually Facebook or Google AdWords. Those are the main top two by far. I think so still, right?
Sounds about right. I personally am not too sure at the top of my head though.
But I mean, it's like people saying like oil is going away, or like because they see they have an EV car and they think like the same thing. Like it's not going away. There's no way. Like it's just such a big.
That's what I agree. That's what's comical to shift about to EV technology. I mean, yes, you're driving your car and it is electric, but what produces that electricity? I mean, it's fossil fuels produces the electricity, which you're then putting in your car. So you're not directly putting fossil fuels into your car, but how is that electricity made? Now you can make the argument that electricity is generated also through solar, and so like the usage of energy is not the bad thing, it's how we're producing that energy. So, and not to even go into crypto, but when people complain about how much energy Bitcoin uses, and it's not the fact that it uses a lot of energy, it's the fact that the energy going into it is fossil fuel energy. Now, if our utility infrastructure was solely sustainable and solar, hydroelectronic, all wind and everything, then there'd be no complaints about cryptocurrency or EVs. So like it's, you got to think about that more so. And so just to elaborate on your point, I agree. Oil is not going anywhere as long as that fuel source is there. The consumers are going to feel great because they're driving electric cars, but not thinking that we're using oil and gas and coal to fuel these plants to create electricity.
Yeah, it's the infrastructure that needs to be built. Like, it's not that easy to just transition to electric cars or renewable energy for like making things. There's so much that was spent to like build these factories, and like it's just like someone like us, we can easily transition to a greener home. We could buy electric vehicle. It's not that hard of a thing for us to transition most of our life. But for a company to do it, I mean, it's just like it costs so much money. That's the hard part, building that infrastructure. Tesla is like the only company that did it for vehicles. Still, all the other vehicle manufacturers, like they have such a small percentage is EVs.
No, yeah. Another fascinating point I learned a couple months ago. I didn't realize, but all of Europe basically is making even more of a push than we are to renewable resources, and I'm all about it. If we could snap our fingers and we'd have only sustainable resources, sure. Like if we could do it tomorrow easily, that'd be wonderful. But they made a push and started banning all these fossil fuels. Well, energy demand continually increased, and now they're actually having to import. They're most of Western European countries are dependent on Russia for their energy consumption, and that's not good. That's just not good. I mean, regardless of it being Russia, of just being dependent on another country,
Right.
because you cut out your naturally occurring fuel source, that's not a great position to be putting yourself in. Now, obviously, I think it's exacerbated because it is Russia, and socioeconomic
Right.
factors indicate that. But yeah, really, really crazy stuff.
And even if you did transition, like if you said everything, not everything, but if we try to like push for most things in the home, use renewable energy, how do you even like, I would not be able to like just buy things that use renewable energy instead of electricity. I mean, I would have to like retrofit my home or like figure out what I need to buy in order to use those things.
Well, it's not even up to us. I mean, it's dependent on the energy companies because regardless of if it's oil, gas, solar, wind, it's still electricity. It's just so like we have no impact on it. It's as much as we think we have impact, like whether or not your car uses gas or electric, like it's still using gas because gas converts to electricity and then it goes in your car. So it really isn't up to us. It's up to the companies to make these change. And another fact also is so 50% of the so of a normal fossil fuel burning car, 50% of all of the fossil fuels used in that car's life are actually used to construct the car. So like during its production while it's being built, like so let's say
Right.
yeah, like I'm not good at estimating, but I don't know, let's say use 1,000 gallons over the car's life. That means 1,000 gallons of fuel were used to construct the car. And that's crazy. I mean, you're not really, saving much by cutting out a little bit and using an electric car, which obviously uses fossil fuels to create the electricity. It's a vicious cycle. Again, saying that, I would love for I personally love electric cars. I don't like hearing an engine roar. I know that's controversial, right? A lot of people love to hear that, roar of a combustion engine, but I'm all about the electric vehicles. It just let it naturally, organically happen.
Yeah, no, it's just it's like moving a mountain to try to get these things to go forward. It's and we're one of the more developed countries, so it would be easier for us. But if you go to a developing country, there's just no way they can afford to rebuild, so they can have use renewable energy instead of. So I mean, we're a long ways away from that. But I think people here understand that. I don't see people. I mean, it sounds ignorant when people really think oil is going away soon. So it's and not as energy efficient as natural gas. Yeah, right. Sometimes these green initiatives end up using an extreme amount of fossil fuels. Um, so what's in your? Do you want to tell us like some of the stocks you're invested in? Or
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's like an interesting. 'Cause I've been pretty stagnant in what I've been holding, but right now is, and I'm not bearish by any means, but we are getting to an interesting point where, I mean, we generally do have a recession every 10 years. Like historically, like roughly every 10 years, whether it's 12 years or 8 years, it kind of averages out to about 10 years. So like personally, like right now I'm just working on reducing leverage, but like and transitioning to safer companies because like even safer companies, I've been heavily invested in Microsoft, Apple, Costco. Like these are companies with high PE ratios. Can they continually go higher? I mean, will they? I hope they do, but it's interesting. I mean, and generally any riskier assets I'm getting into personally, like as I mentioned before, have been crypto related assets. But yeah, I mean, especially with interest rates going up, that's going
right.
to cut off funding for a lot of more startup related, riskier risk on assets. But yeah, for now, it's banking stocks are great for interest
Yeah,
rate hikes because they can charge more for interest. That's another industry to be in as well.
yeah, banking.
JP Morgan's a great one I hold as well.
I just did a video on a fintech. I can't remember. If you guys join my Patreon page, every day I share an Excel file to help with like due diligence and like statistics on companies. Lending Club. I just did a video on Lending Club. Is anybody invested in this? Lending Club. Sorry, 1 second. Okay. So it's a fintech company. Well, they used to do peer-to-peer lending. They used to do that. They were the biggest peer-to-peer lending company in the world at one point. So if people needed a loan to pay off debt, or maybe to fix their home or go on vacation, whatever they wanted the money for, they would go to the Lending Club website and apply for a loan. It was like anywhere up to, I think it was $50,000. What was it? I mean, it's a high interest rate. You pay like 10, 12%. The average is 15%, up to $40,000. And then we could fund the loans. You know what peer-to-peer lending is, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. So you can go to the site and look for people who are borrowing money, and then it gives you like a little information about them, what they're borrowing money for, their credit score, and then you would lend to that person, and Lending Club would kind of coordinate it, and Lending Club would make sure they're paying like each month, because the person has to pay the Lending Club. But now they're a bank. They acquired Radius Bank a year, like at the end of 2020. They acquired a bank, so now they can just use customer deposits to fund all the loans instead of the peer-to-peer lending. So their margins have gone up a lot, like a ton. They're still losing money though. Actually, no, they did have positive free cash flow in 2020, 21. And they did have positive net income in 2021, a little bit. Do you ever try to value a bank? It's a little confusing, because they don't have like real revenue like a Microsoft or a Starbucks. They receive the interest income, like the interest spread, and they get fees. They charge fees, so it's hard to like kind of like forecast that, or it's not really consistent. Like there's no like, selling X products,
Right.
and then if it goes up 10% next year, like it's. But
No, I agree. Yeah, I haven't had much experience in the area. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah, if you value a bank, the best way to do it is price to book ratio. That's generally the way to do it. You can't really do DCF. I mean, I do it, and I do mention in the video, like it's probably not the best way, but I talk about the price to book also, because that's where you want to look at their assets, because it's all on their balance sheet. When they loan money, it's an asset and liability on their balance sheet. But a lot of banks or financial institutions, they kind of sell off the loans to like another company, or securitize the loans. Are you familiar with securitization?
Mhm.
Yeah, I used to do that when I worked in New York. So if you're a bank, the way you make money is people put money into your bank, in checking or savings account, and then the bank takes that money. Well, they give you like maybe 0.5% interest, or maybe a little less. So they pay you 0.5%, and then they say you put $10,000 into your savings account. So per year they're going to pay you $50 a year if you put 10,000 in. They take the 10,000 and then they give it to somebody who needs a loan. Say somebody needs a loan to, fix their roof. Their roof caved in, so they need $10,000, and they charge them 10%.
Right. It's on those interest rate spreads. That's where they're making their profits. And those vary for sure, which makes it more difficult to value.
So that's really the basic way of how banks make money is, so the spread is, in this case, it would be 9.5%. I show this in the video too. It's, 1 second.
Get the dog going. Oh, and see a few people mentioning crypto. I agree. I think it is another .com bubble, and there are going to be winners, and there's going to be even more losers. So, a note on that.
So there's 10,000. When you deposit 10,000 in the bank, that's an asset on a bank's balance sheet. They have access to that cash. And then when they lend it out to somebody, now it's a liability also on a balance sheet. So you just want to look at the interest rate spread, which in this case is 9.5%, and how much money they have. The thing is, this is a guaranteed payment, 0.5%. There's pretty much 100% chance the bank will pay you that rate. But this 10%, this is not guaranteed. The person just might not pay, default on their loan. That's the risk the bank takes. So that's why they have to charge a higher rate to compensate for that risk. Where was I going with this? So just it makes it a little more complex trying to value banks. Where I was going with this. So let's make it 10 million. Say say a lot of people put $10,000 in, and they have 10 million in deposits in the bank, and they lent that 10 million out. They can't lend out the whole 10 million. They could only, I forgot what it is, maybe 80%. They need to keep a certain percent, but
I think, and just to interject there, I think it actually is close to zero because of the pandemic extra.
Okay.
Yeah, which blows my mind. Yeah.
So yeah, let's keep it at zero anyway for the example, so it's easy to convey the message. So say they have 10,000 deposits. So it's a good deal, right, for the bank, because they're making a 9.5% spread. So what do they do now? Like, not work anymore if they sent it? So they have to get rid of these loans, right? So they need cash. So they can either sell the loan to another bank, and they may take these 10% loans and sell them for like 9%, I don't know, 8% interest to another bank, so they could clear off their balance sheet and they have more cash to lend to other people. Or they can securitize them. So they create a bond. And they sell the bond into the open market, and the loans back the bond. So all these loans that the people pay, every time they make their principal and interest payment, it goes into the bond. I don't know if that was clear on.
No, I think it was pretty solid. Yeah. And also, I did look it up. It is 0, which is absolutely mind blowing. The measures that they went to avoid a recession were astronomical.
That's crazy. So does anybody know why it's 0? Like why it's beneficial to the bank to be 0? And why it's 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 kind of it's really risky. It's kind of like saying we have a new rule. Which follow? Like we have a new rule where you don't need to put any money down to get a home. So now it's 0% down. So if it's a $200,000 home, you don't have to put any money down. The bank will give you $200,000, and you get your home. And then you pay principal and interest payments like always. Can anybody see how that's so risky? And that did happen at one point, and it almost ruined the whole world's economy, the subprime crisis. Because if there's no room for default, right? If one person defaults, there's just no cushion. So it's crazy, that they can lend out. I think it used to be 70 or 80 when I remember doing it.
No, that sounds more reasonable. Yeah, and that's probably what I learned in school as well. Yeah, but we live in, I think even Europe's got negative interest rates. We live in a world of former theoreticals.
Negative interest rates. So you have to pay the bank to hold your money. That's how
Absolutely
extreme it is. You have to pay somebody to hold your money.
Yeah, no, and that incentivizes you to just take your money and throw it in the market. That's like
forcing
you to do that essentially. Yeah.
Right. Ed, it's not risky for the buyer. Exactly. That's the problem. We want to put more of the risk on a buyer, because if we make it so easy for them, then if a bank gives out loans and tons of people default, the bank doesn't have money to pay the people who, like if you come in to take cash out of the bank, out of your checking or savings account, the bank says, no, we don't have any money because everybody's defaulting on their loans. Like the Great Depression.
Oh yeah, supercharge risk.
I think Ross Perot used to do that. He used to go to banks and take big loans and not pay them back.
I'm not too sure.
That's like a strategy for some businessmen. They would go to a bank and take out tons of loans, and they had a lot of money, so the bank didn't see it as a concern, and then they just didn't pay the loans, and the bank would default. I don't know how accurate that is, but I've heard that.
Yeah. I can imagine.
You know a lot about crypto, right?
Oh yeah, if you want to go down that hole, I'm totally fine avoiding it if you want to, but either way.
No, I don't know that much about crypto. A little bit. Is Bitcoin still dropping? Where's that at now?
That's a great question.
I know it was in the 42. Okay.
Yeah, no, just like a long-term investment. I don't particularly check it too much, but I do got to say it's all in fairness when people say it's like the .com bubble. That's exactly what's going on right now. It 100% is the .com bubble all over again. You've got, couldn't put a percentage on it, but I would say if I had to, 25% at most, probably more likely 15% of these coins will survive another 10 years or so. Probably shorter than that. So yeah, when people are saying the majority of this stuff is a scam, I would agree with that. They're trying to build on the hype, but there are solid projects out there. But yeah,
there's like 10,000 cryptocurrencies.
Oh yeah, it's something out of control. Yeah,
there's so many more cryptocurrencies than regular fiat currencies, like US dollar, Canadian dollar. there's so many more crypto.
Oh yeah.
It
Actually,
almost seems silly, but I'm not. I used to be kind of against it. Like I used to think I still wouldn't buy it, but I do think it's staying. Well, Bitcoin at least, certain ones are staying. Crypto in general, I think it'll. I thought it was more of a fad, but I think it's gonna.
and there was a comment I saw, an interesting comment. I forget who it was. I'm trying to look for it right now. Someone mentioned earlier, how do you value an ETF? And I thought that was actually a pretty solid question. And an answer to that is, I mean, an ETF is just your average ETF is just a weighted bundle of different stocks put together. So to value that ETF, I mean, you would just essentially value each of those companies and then do a weighted average calculation, just assigning the weight that the ETF does to those stocks to the value of those companies, and that's how you'd value that ETF. So, yeah, I tried to look for it, I couldn't find it, but whoever's question that was before, I remember it was a really solid question.
Yeah, if you were to value the S&P 500, you can't do I guess you could do some type of DCF on all 500 companies, but is that what you meant? Like you have to value each individual company?
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess the ideal valuation for it would be to you individually value each company and then do a weighted average based on what the ETF weights those as. But yeah, I mean, you could just value it based on like the aggregate, like comparing if you did like a theoretical aggregate of all the financials together, what that would look like. I mean, there's a few ways, but it's definitely possible. Sure.
Yeah, someone said net asset value. Yeah, that's one way to do it. But it's like kind of like I don't know, because you can't really value most companies' net asset value, which is I think mainly like for insurance companies definitely and banks, net assets I think is the best way to value them. But for most companies, like tech companies, like their assets are kind of irrelevant. It's the billions of dollars, especially like company like Apple, all the money they produce, all the sales.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So you can't but yeah, but you could, but
and it is kind of wild, like based on those sales that you're talking about. I mean, the discounted cash flow method, like some of these companies are just blowing it out of the water in terms of the large tech companies, Apple, Amazon, just destroying these discounted cash flow models because like their revenues in the future are just going up and up and up so rapidly that I mean the discounting is just not even able to keep up. Now, what I would want to say easily is that the reason for that being is the inflation that is going on, and I would definitely say that here is that it seems that most companies are just beating their earnings. Inflation's going rampant. I think that, and realistically speaking, I mean, 50% of all U.S. dollars in circulation were printed in the last 3 years. Like, that's disgusting. There's no other word I would use to describe that than just disgusting. So that inflation has to go somewhere. It can't just disappear. So whether it's in the market, whether it's in consumer prices, I think it's everywhere. Something to be concerned about as well.
okay. Oh, okay, right. Net asset value is just a sum of all the stock prices. Represent the value of each share's portion of the fund underlying assets. Yeah, I'd have to look into that more. It's yeah, I thought about it, trying to value ETF. I did a video, but it's not really valuing. It's just kind of like understanding like the S&P 500.
Oh, so like for example, net asset value. I'm going to reference my experience with private equity firms. I mean, so you've got a fund, and that's just all of your invested capital minus all of your liabilities. So just assets minus liabilities. That's your net asset value for that fund. And that same principle applies for ETFs. They're obviously just publicly traded as compared to being for accredited investors in that particular fund.
The value of each shares. Right. So we said it correct before, right? It's assets minus liabilities for each company, proportion to how big they are. Okay. Somebody just said ETF net asset value is based on stock prices of the equities, not book value of the companies. Do you agree with that?
Well, the stock price is the fair value on the market. Yeah, I mean, if everything was based on book value, I mean, we wouldn't have fluctuations the way we do with stock prices. So yeah, it's based on if we have an equally weighted portfolio and Tesla shoots up tomorrow 20% and nothing else in the fund increases, well then Tesla will be disproportionately weighted, but that is because it is based on the fair value, which is what the stock price reflects. Mm-hmm.
So it's market cap, not assets minus liabilities.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, so the net asset value, I mean, so like for example, like I could go out in the market. I see what you're saying. I could go out in the market tomorrow and say like this is Nick's ETF. The net asset value of my ETF would be all of you investors who give me your money minus the liabilities that my particular fund has. However, the valuation of the actual ETF of the what I invest in that with, it's like I'm a portfolio manager. So yes, the ETF has a net asset value, and that is all the investors' money minus liabilities that the fund has, such as operations running the fund. But then we also have the value of the actual underlying assets that the ETF holds, which is based on the stock prices of the equities. So both are true. Like again, net asset value is tied to the overall invested capital for the ETF, whereas the equity market caps, like you were saying, that is the valuation of it. Yes.
But when you talk about net asset value for an ETF, you're talking about how much money is invested in that ETF.
Correct.
Minus liabilities, which is
exactly, like maybe
significant, right?
Yeah, like maybe I take out margin as an ETF manager. Maybe I take out margin, right? Maybe I don't pay my employees. I take out debt to pay the employees. Any sort of which way that it incurs liabilities, those would be reflected in the net asset value.
But that doesn't really help you value the that ETF.
Right, the net asset value. Oh, so this comment, yeah, net asset value is based on stock prices. So, I mean, also that is true though, because I mean, if let's say you all give me $1 million collectively to buy Tesla, Apple, Amazon, if Tesla, Apple, and Amazon increases, well, now my net asset value has increased because all of your invested money is now worth more because it was invested in companies that stock prices went up. So that is true.
Right. But that's based off of market cap.
Yes.
Not really. That's what the market is saying, not what it might be like say was the only stock was AMC and GameStop, and you have the best ETF in the world at one point, even though it's only because it's pumped
Yeah.
up and
Book value is quite separate from your market cap for sure.
but even book values for most companies doesn't help you.
Right. I mean, just because in the nature of it, like Tesla has so much hype about it and optimism for the future that the book value could be 0 for Tesla, or it could be negative, and it would still be through the moon because the people investing in it are cult
Hey, Rye.
followers. They're really about it for sure.
So how do you value an ETF? I mean, that's the thing. Like, you can't. Hey, okay, yeah, Rye. See you next week. Looking forward to it.
I gotta say that that I'm in that comment on the emergency Fed meeting. That is interesting. That's an interesting consideration because there is that emergency Fed meeting. I believe it was scheduled for Monday or Tuesday. I was just reading about it. I forget which day, but they just declared it. And yeah, I agree. If they just, and it's only a month away, they said the regularly scheduled meeting where they're going to raise the interest rates and what we talked about before. I agree. I mean, investors don't like uncertainty. So if they just waited till March and did the normal meeting, markets wouldn't crash as much. But if this really is a meeting to raise interest rates out of nowhere, then oh yeah, we're going to see a crash. I mean, just that's how that works. Yeah.
But rates have been coming up past year. But I think they got to raise rates. It just seems.
I agree. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like, hey, I'd love to eat cookies and chips the rest of my life. It would be wonderful. Would it be great for a week? Sure, it'd be great for a week. But after about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you start to, not do too hot. So it's kind of the responsible move. It's all right, party's over. Let's be a little bit more responsible here. And it's more sustainable. Like I personally, when my parents told me that when they bought a house, rates were, I think they said like something like 7%. And when they were even younger, rates were something like 15%.
Yeah.
I was shocked. I was like, is that possible? That's where they used to be? So, I mean, to put it in 2008 terms, I mean, this was the Fed's ammunition. This is what they have to fight inflation, fight economic recessions. And if rates are always going to be around 0, well, that's going to leave them little room to do anything about any potential economic crises.
Yeah, it's almost like they know they need to raise rates, but raising it could lead to a lot of problems. So it's kind of like just avoid the problem by keeping the rates low, but that doesn't help things.
Yeah, and I'm no economic expert. However, in my mediocre opinion, I would think investors don't like uncertainty. So if you set out a nice normal plan and said, we're going to raise rates by 0.25% a quarter, 0.25% a year, even just doing it like that, and just slowly but surely with certainty raising them, I don't think that would be too crazy because investors will know, okay, something's being done about it, but you're not going to see a radical 2% complete increase shock out of nowhere that's going to just completely batter markets. So, I mean, again, if that wouldn't work and anyone has any thoughts on that, I'd love to hear the take on that. But that's something kind of I think would be a nice fix.
This chart, I don't remember rates so high in 2018. Look how high they were. I thought they've been like rock bottom. This is the 30-year fixed mortgage. Oh, maybe that's why. Isn't it? When you think it would be, I thought it was like really low for like 10 years.
I guess relatively, yeah.
Yeah, relatively. If you open it up,
I guess I'm just a little shocked as well. Yeah, I'm not too.
I guess if you open it up, it's real low. on a big screen. But if you drill in, 5% was really high.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, so this is like 30-year fixed rate mortgage. This is not necessarily,
Yeah.
yeah, like you've got the Fed rates, like, and because those mortgage rates are collateralized, if we're talking just normal Fed
They,
rate.
they should move. They should be correlated, I thought.
No, I for sure they're correlated, but not necessarily the same amount. Yeah, no, if anyone wants to get those fixed rate mortgages, lock them in now.
But let's go back. So the value in ETF, you can't do it on net asset value. That doesn't really.
Right.
Does it? Does it?
Right, because the net asset value of the ETF is specific to that ETF. I mean, you could have two ETFs. You could have ETF A and B. Now, A is run by, I don't know, who's Warren Buffett. Sure, we'll use Warren Buffett. And of course, Warren Buffett's going to attract more investors than we could count. And the net asset value of his ETF is going to be millions and billions of dollars. He could have the same companies as my little, pitter patter small ETF. So we have the same investments. We could have the same return percentage, but his net asset value is going to be through the roof because he's got, every wealthy individual and their mother invested there. So that's the net asset value. That's why it wouldn't necessarily be the best way to value it. Now, valuing those particular companies individually and then doing a weighted average there, that would be the way to value that ETF.
Like, okay, for the S&P 500, like you couldn't value 500 companies individually. Like it would just, you can't spend the rest of your life.
Well, that's what I'm saying. In theory, that would be the best way to do it. But
in theory, yeah. But
no.
For practical use, the only thing that would make sense to me is that you just get a data dump of like the 500 companies along with the PE, market cap, revenue, whatever, and then apply some type of weights to each of those things, and then do a DCF, but more of a kind of like automated type DCF.
Right.
I think that would be the only way to approach it I could think about.
No, that
makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly would be the best approach.
You know what I was thinking of doing? Let me know what you guys think. On a future live stream, you think Monday they will raise rates earlier than expected? I don't know. I mean, I don't think so, but it's just I usually just kind of ignore a lot of these external things because I can't really I can't control it, and I really don't think it's going to affect us. Everybody's like, what's going to happen if this happens and that happens? Sometimes when there's a new it seems like every time like a new president, like what happens if he gets elected? Is the market a crash? Same thing happens all the time. Then maybe it jumps up a bit or falls down, but over time it kind of like it smooths out.
Yeah, no, I mean, just buy people's fear when something that's completely irrelevant to the market happens. I mean, the president's not going to have much influence. All presidents want the market to do well because then they're going to look better. So,
exactly.
Yeah, like I would, if there's a crash because of an election's coming up, that's a great time to buy. The president's going to have negligible effect on the overall market for sure. Just Jose, I see your comment about. So I'm not particularly saying that Warren Buffett has an ETF out there. I was just using Warren Buffett as an example. You could call Berkshire an ETF because it holds so many companies. I mean, it's not. It's a company itself, but
it's pretty much
that was just an example. Yeah,
it's just a holding company. There's lots of holding companies out there. Some holding companies just hold one company because they were created. I've done a lot of videos and they're just holding companies. They were just created kind of like a shell. You probably don't even realize like you're investing in a holding company, rather than the actual company sometimes. But
Yeah, no, that's just the way it works. That's tax wise how it's structured. How you buy Microsoft, and gosh, I wouldn't know where to even begin, but I'm sure they have something like 100 entities at least under the Microsoft main parent company. There's
oh yeah,
yeah.
but all these big companies, they own probably hundreds of companies, like these Apple or Google. But Apple may say they acquired 500 companies since they started. So underneath them, they have 500 subsidiaries. Their business is still to make phones and computers. But Berkshire Hathaway, their business is they don't have any operations. There's zero operations at the parent level of Berkshire Hathaway. Their business model is to just buy companies. They buy stock in other companies, and that's how they make money.
This chart you have here, yes, this is exactly spot on with what I believe is what we're seeing. Yeah, it's actually really interesting to take a look at. I didn't realize rates were, I guess it's relative. I was going to say, like, I didn't realize rates were going up so high in the past 5 years. Yeah.
So if you look at this, like 2010, 2022, it's like, wow, 2018 rates are so high. But if you pull out a bit, it's actually extremely low. It's just, if you look within that 10-year time frame, it's kind of like having tunnel vision when you do things. Like if you just look at like a scenario or like 1 year of data and try to like pinpoint information on it, you don't really learn much. But when you pull out and look at the big picture, anything in life, if you understand like kind of like the high level of something, things make a lot more sense. So you can see a 2% rate is extremely low. Yeah, it was in the 70s. Yeah, right in the beginning of the 80s. Yeah, it was.
It's crazy.
You could have bought a CD at a bank for like almost 20% interest. Imagine you go to the bank today and give them $10,000 and you get a guaranteed 20% return on your investment. 100% guarantee because the U.S. government is backing it. That's like unbelievable. We'd all be multimillionaires because 20% a year, if we just put 10,000 into that compounded, like it's just nuts how much that would be.
Oh yeah.
But of course, people didn't know this back then. But money was tighter. Like times like this, like a lot of people didn't have money, or if they didn't have it, they couldn't even access it. Where now, like, it's a lot easier to access money because it's so cheap. Yeah, so if you're a patron on my Patreon, every day I send an Excel file. Like, I kind of send an update for the month on what videos I've done, the YouTube link, so you can go straight to the video, and the result, like if it's a buy or sell. Sometimes I send like today I sent I was doing oil and gas integrated companies. Well, I was doing Suncor Energy. So I pulled the data for all the oil and gas integrated companies. There's 19, like the CapEx, debt to equity ratio, market cap, all the ratios, so I can put my video together. So I sent this Excel file on my Patreon group. It's only $5 a month. But yeah, my question was, I was going to do a live stream, and I was just going to go through my Excel file, like gather the information like I do before I shoot the video. But I'm going to go through the whole process of finding the info, going to the 10K, going to Yahoo Finance, whatever sites I go to, and put it into my Excel file, and then go through the video like I do, step by step. Does that sound like, I know you guys are going to think, oh, that's a great idea. But I know when I do that, it's going to be so boring and hardly anybody to watch, because I've done similar. But do you think that's a good idea? If I go through the whole process of how I gather the information, and we could talk about it, because a lot of it is just like, there's not a perfect science. It's not like my crystal ball says the WAC is 8.8% because 8.79 is wrong. You know, there's no this kind of just, sometimes it's a gut feeling, and I just have just estimation. I mean, some companies it's almost all guessing, because there's no way I could figure out some of these companies. Like there's very little information on the past. They have no positive earnings. Some companies don't have any revenue either, pre-revenue. Like there's just, so it's just a total guess. But so in that case, like I hope people just use the video as more of an addition to the due diligence. Oh, shit. But yeah, I need a job so I can join a Patreon. That's the first step. Get a job. So Nick, how's work been going?
Not too bad. It's just another day in the life.
You travel a lot, right, for work?
Actually, I travel a lot personally. It's very much remote. So I've been New York, Florida. I'm going to Mexico soon. Just
wow.
Yeah, no, just because it can be remote. So just working in these different places.
Yeah. It's a nice time to.
Yeah.
What part of Mexico?
It's for a wedding. It's north of Mexico City. San Miguel de Allende. Don't know much about it, just because it was, I'm going there for a wedding, so I'm gonna stay there a week, and we shall see how it is. If anyone's got any recommendations for Mexico, I'd love to hear. Yeah, just another shout out. If anyone's pursuing the CPA exam, more than happy to help. That's what I'm working on almost full time now. Just building out a review course. Definitely able to offer that for free. We're in beta test mode, so if anyone wants just free access in exchange for feedback, very much just able to offer that. So no,
are you making videos where you're talking about it, and is
Yeah.
that how you do it? Is that how what you do?
Full on course. I've got about, I think I probably recorded about 80 hours so far just for the first exam. We're only got about 40 hours of usable content, just because got to condense it down. But
yeah,
voice questions.
How many people are doing it?
I'm sorry.
How many? Is just you, or do you have a group of people?
It's me and a developer. He's the lead. I'm the content creator. So yeah, just recording nonstop videos, writing questions. He takes care of the technical software, data, website building, and it's a good process going on. But it's
That's
after
cool.
2 years worth of work. It's going live in about 2 weeks to a month, and I couldn't be more excited for it.
That's awesome. Wow.
So yeah, no, definitely, yeah.
Let me know if you if you need feedback or something, or if I can be of any help or anything.
Definitely. And yeah, same here. I'm more than happy to share some of these videos, like sharing your video on the financial statement analysis. I think that'd be, a great resource for some of the students. That would give some exposure as well, and it'd be awesome.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed with, especially school. I mean, but also I found this on YouTube. There's not much practical information on like how to really understand like how businesses work and how financials fit into things. Nick doesn't. You don't have a YouTube, right? You don't have one.
I guess like my personal that I'm using to log in here, but not that I'm publicly, trying to get people to follow.
Yeah, he doesn't have a YouTube. I don't think he has time, from what I gather. But yeah, so that's what I thought my channel does, is that it's a kind of real life business, because I'm actually going through these companies, which are real companies, and then and also, of course, the connecting the financials, I think is kind of like, I mean, it's a fake company, but
right.
I try to show. If anybody was curious, these are the videos in the queue, and it changes a lot. So if I write, I'm working on a particular company, sometimes I never do it, or I put it aside, because like with a few companies, like sometimes I've been waiting on their financials forever, or like I'm waiting for Yahoo Finance to update their financials, and then once in a while I start doing a company, I just cannot figure things out, so I scrap it. So in case you were curious, some people ask, "Oh, I saw you were supposed to do Petrobras, but you didn't do it." So these are kind of Baidu. If like this person paid me, so if they pay, I have to kind of put that up in the queue. The others, when people suggest videos, which is helpful, but like sometimes it takes forever to get to it. Now, if you were a sub, a year and a half ago, I was begging people for tickers. Now I'm like, so anyway, Baidu, BFI, I'm not sure what that is. Big Five? I don't know. DDD. I forgot what that is too. Nokia, AT&T, Intel, Baba, Facebook. I want to do a video for their fourth quarter earnings, like I did Suncor today. Does anybody know Farmy? It's really highly traded. Like some days it's like 100 million shares. It's a Chinese company. They sell mushrooms. Triteris, CHP, UGP, RDS. I can't remember what these companies are.
Oh, there's a lot of them out there.
No, like I put a ticker, but I don't even know the names.
Yeah.
A lot of times when I do a video, or like people suggest a video, I never even heard of these companies before until the day of I make the video. Now I'm learning about a lot of these companies, but is that the trade desk? TTE? PTR? SMP? Is that Snap? What's E? E-Trade?
I'm not sure.
You have never done XPL Logistic Company? No, I don't think so. Fubo, BBIG, Stone. That's Trump's company, right? That the SPAC Stone.
Oh, I remember hearing about that. I don't know what the ticker is for it though.
Invesco, Netflix, 2 Canadian companies.
I was gonna say, reaching about an hour and a half on my time, so I'm gonna have to start
Yeah.
getting you to do. But I definitely appreciate you having me. Yeah, it was great. Good conversation today, and I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming. It's always nice to have a CPA.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to answer any questions you have and anything at all. So no, thank you for letting me share my piece. And if anyone wants to talk accounting, just let me know. But it was great. And thank you again.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody, yeah, I'm gonna sign off too. Thanks a lot, Nick. Let me leave a comment if you want me to do a video. Anybody? Talk to you later. See you next Saturday. Okay, thanks. See ya.
Bye.